All right, let's jump right in. We're about to tackle one of the most famous stories ever told, right? But we're going to do it a little differently. We're going straight to the source text itself. The idea here is to see exactly how the Gospel of Luke first put this incredible event into words. I mean, think about it. For 2,000 years, this story has been everywhere. In plays, songs, Christmas cards, you name it. It's been told and retold so many times. So what we're going to do is try to peel back all those layers, get to the original narrative. This whole explainer is really just about focusing on the details as they're laid out in this one specific account. So where does Luke's version of the story actually begin? Well, you might be surprised. It's not in a quiet stable. It's not with a star in the sky. Nope. It kicks off with a political decree, an order from the single most powerful person in the entire known world.
And this is what's so wild. The sheer scale of this thing. We're not talking about a local king here. Caesar Augustus is the emperor of Rome, the big guy. And he orders a census, basically a registration, for what the text calls the entire Roman world. Just imagine that. This one single act forces thousands, maybe millions of people to start moving. It's the spark that lights the fuse for everything that follows.
I mean, can you even imagine the logistics? A command that covers the entire empire, forcing everyone to travel back to their ancestral hometown just to be counted? The roads must have been an absolute mess, towns totally overflowing. And right in the middle of this huge, chaotic, state-ordered migration, the story suddenly zooms way, way in, focusing on just one family. So because of this decree, Joseph and Mary have to pack up and travel. They're going from their home in Nazareth, way down south to a little town called Bethlehem. So why Bethlehem specifically? Well, here's the key detail. It all comes down to Joseph's family tree. He was a descendant of the famous King David, and Bethlehem just so happened to be David's original hometown. So this emperor's order, completely by accident, sends them to a place that's already loaded with historical meaning. Okay, so after that long, hard journey, they finally make it to Bethlehem. But the very thing that forced them to travel in the first place, that census, is now the source of their next big problem. The town is absolutely packed. And this next line from the text, it's everything. It's so simple, but it's the pivot point for the entire story. The text says, there was no guest room available for them. It's not that someone was being mean or turned them away. The town was just full. Every normal lodging, every guest room was already taken. And this is where you really see that incredible contrast at the heart of the story. We started with this massive, world-shaking decree from an emperor, and it all leads to this incredibly quiet, humble moment. The birth doesn't happen in a palace or even a real room. The baby is wrapped in simple cloths and placed in a manger, an animal's feeding trough. It's about as lowly as you can get. Okay, so the story hits this very quiet, intimate moment, and then bam, the narrative suddenly cuts away. It's like a scene change in a movie. We leave the stable and jump to the fields just outside of town, where the whole vibe is about to change, big time. And who do we meet here? It's not emperors or powerful officials. It's shepherds. Just regular working guys out in the fields watching their flocks. It's just another night on the job for them. These are completely ordinary people, literally on the edges of society. So imagine this scene. Suddenly, an angel appears, and this brilliant light, the text calls it the glory of the Lord, shines all around them. And yeah, they were terrified. I mean, who wouldn't be? That's why the angel's very first words are so important. Do not be afraid. He's immediately telling them, hey, this is okay. Because what's coming next isn't bad news, it's good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Then the angel drops the bombshell. He reveals who this child is, using 3 incredibly powerful titles. He calls him the Savior, the one who rescues, the Messiah, which means the long-awaited king, and the Lord. I mean, these are just massive, profound claims to make about a newborn baby in a manger. But, how could they possibly know this was real? This all sounds crazy, right? Well, the angel gives them a sign to look for. And check out how simple this sign is. The proof isn't going to be some golden crown or royal palace. No, the sign is the very picture of humility we just talked about. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger. And just when you think things can't get any more intense, they do. All of a sudden, that single angel is joined by a massive choir. The text calls it a great company of the heavenly host. The whole sky just fills with them, and they're all singing, praising God with this message of glory and peace on earth. And then they're gone. The angels disappear, and the sky goes dark and quiet again. I mean, what do you even do after something like that? For these shepherds, there's no question, the decision is instant. They have got to go see this for themselves. What's amazing is that the text doesn't mention any hesitation at all. There's no debate like, hey, were we all just dreaming? Nope. Their reaction is pure action. They're like, let's go. Right now, let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened. And sure enough, that's the confirmation. They hurry into town, and they find it. The scene is exactly as the angel described. There's Mary, there's Joseph, and there's the baby lying in a manger. The sign was real. It actually happened. But the story doesn't actually end there, with the shepherds finding the baby. The final piece of the narrative is all about the aftermath, the ripple effect. It's about how all the different people involved started to process this unbelievable event. So what's the first thing the shepherds do? They start talking. They can't keep it in. They immediately become the very first messengers, telling anyone who will listen what the angel told them and what they saw with their own eyes. They went from being witnesses to being storytellers. And of course, the news just spreads like wildfire. And the reaction from the people in the town? It's not disbelief, which you might expect. No, the text says they were amazed. This incredible story from a bunch of shepherds just filled everyone with wonder. But then the narrative draws this really beautiful contrast between that public reaction and a very private one. While everyone else is buzzing, talking, and reacting out loud, Mary's response is completely internal. It says she treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. She just holds on to it all, thinking it over quietly. And finally, we see the shepherd's story come full circle. They head back to their fields, back to their flocks, back to their ordinary lives. But they're not the same. They are completely changed. They go back praising God because everything they heard and saw, from the angels in the field to the baby in the manger, it all lined up. It was all true. And that really brings us to the final thought to leave you with. This story starts with the most powerful man on the planet, and it ends with the most humble. The very first announcement of this birth doesn't go to the emperor's palace in Rome. It doesn't go to the high priests in Jerusalem. It goes to a bunch of shepherds in a field. And so that leaves us with this one big question to think about. What does it mean that the first people to hear this heavenly news weren't the powerful, but the powerless?